You know, there's a scary thing to many of these virus bans that are cutting away our freedoms. You know, you've got to wonder, are they there to actually just help the government, not help the citizens? You, for instance. Because that would be completely the wrong way around for a democracy. They're here to serve us, not the other way around. I'll give you an example. The 8 p.m. curfew in Melbourne. That's just to make it easier for police at night to catch people breaking the various bans. Another example, South Australia's hard border, no Victorians allowed, even to visit a dying mother, even if you agree to quarantine. Why? Why this hard border? Because the government can't be bothered organising quarantine hotels for Victorians, for Australian citizens. But it will organise quarantine hotels for the 300 foreign students it's going to let in next month, because those guys are bringing in money, uni fees. How about this ban? The ban on you leaving this country. Again, that's purely for the government's convenience. It's taking away your freedom to go overseas to a family wedding, or a funeral, heaven forbid, because it can't be bothered having returning visitors going to quarantine hotels, even though it is at your own expense. Joining me is Rowan Dean, author, columnist, editor of Spectator Australia and presenter of Outsiders every Sunday on Sky, 9 a.m. Rowan Dean, it's good to see you. The balance has tipped, though, hasn't it, from the rights of the citizen over the government. Now it's the rights of the government over the citizens.
Exactly, Andrew, and this is really dangerous. It is wrong, and there will be a reckoning, I suspect, to come to the political class down the line. And if you look back at how democracies always work, is the idea that they are there to serve the people, the interests of the people, the wishes of the people. And one of the great things that I loved about when they built the new Parliament House in Canberra, for example, they put the lawn above the building itself, and the gag was that, or the idea was that, you know, we're beneath the people and we're there to serve the interests of the people. They seem to have forgotten that. I would urge them all to go outside, no matter how cold it is next week when they're sitting or whenever they're sitting, and just have a look at that and remind themselves that that is what they're there to do, serve the wishes as well as the interests of the people. And what we've seen, Andrew, you're right, it began, one of the worst cases was Jeanette Young up in Queensland, the medical officer there, who claimed that she was closing down the schools, I think it was, in order to send a signal. So suddenly she'd gone from being a medical expert to being an advertising expert, and she was using her powers, her medical powers, to use as a system of communications. That's completely wrong. But that was just the beginning. And as you outlined at the beginning there, Andrew, we've just seen one after the other of measures brought in simply to make it easier for other measures to be enforced. This is how totalitarianism comes into effect, when the political class believe they have their right to do things that they are putting the greater good, in other words, their own efficiency, above those of the people. And there will be a reckoning to this, Andrew.
Well, I thought it was perfectly demonstrated by the fact that parliamentary sittings, federal and in Victoria, have been cancelled. Parliamentary sittings cancelled in Victoria, specifically because it sent a wrong impression, etc. And, you know, we might endanger staff, even though you could have sanitised and hand masked and, you know, spread out and all that. No, I couldn't believe it. But, you know, it's funny, Ron, I wonder whether people are just two things today, and this is really unusual, people fighting back, forcing a reversal. This morning, my wife hit the roof to learn that in the paper, the Herald Sun, something in the police saying you can't even drive your dog, in our case, who's got arthritis, half a kilometre to the park. You can't do that. You can't even do that. And that's just to help police catch people who are going beyond the 5K limit from your home. And that was reversed by this afternoon. And the Prime Minister today, this morning, we're going to make you all have vaccines. It's going to be as mandatory as it can make it. By the afternoon, he's saying, oh, well, actually, you know, we can't hold you down and force an injection, although God knows you probably want to try.
And we've also had the ridiculousness of the JobKeeper, JobSeeker package, the approach whereby the government is spending our future, the funds of our children and our own future prosperity, just pouring it down the drain, basically, just so that they don't have to go through the political pain now, in the here and now, that something like the virus causes. Now, this is not the great pandemic. This is not the Spanish flu. This is not World War I or World War II. This is not on any kind of scale, even remotely comparable to those great challenges which we as a nation faced. And when we faced all those challenges, Andrew, we did not. Ross Fitzgerald has a great piece in next week's Spectator where he points out that we never during those genuine crises, genuine existential threats, ever had a curfur, for instance, ever had put the rights of the people behind the political
Jeffrey
class.
Bainey was telling me this off camera. He said, you know, he lived through the war. He said, we didn't have any. This is worse than the war. Rowan, just quickly, I'm running out of time. And since I promoted, I better talk about it. We've had 2GB. I've talked in the past about how that's been neutered. You know, Alan Jones gone, Steve Price gone, Chris Smith gone, although Smith then was later brought back. The Conservative edge taken off it, scared of left-wing activists who've got to threaten advertisers. I wonder if it's the same Channel 10. It's just sacked several on-air talent, including Kerry-Anne Kennelly, who only happens to be a Logie Hall of Fame star of Studio 10. Here's David McKnight explaining the move, and he should know because he used to be executive producer of that very show. Have a listen.
They're paying her out because they don't want the controversy. They don't want an advertiser backlash based on the controversial comments that can come.
That sounds scary to me, Rowan.
Yes, this is fascinating. I hope we're at the bottom of this particular cycle because, Andrew, what we are seeing is people wanting to have their cake and eat it. They want your eyeballs. So they want the viewers to sit there and watch and engage with their networks, but they can't bear the thought of any kind of controversy. And we know, you and I know from personal experience, that these controversies are whipped up by a motley, miserable, grubby little crowd of online activists who don't have the numbers behind them, who rig the algorithms to make it look as if there are a lot of people who care. Most genuine, decent Australians... Exactly. Most genuine, decent Australians go, oh, yeah, OK, that's a bit of this. I know she thinks this, they think, and that's how people are. But these cowardly little brand managers are pathetic.
I know, and the executive should know better. Gee, that just so upsets me. Rowan, and because you and I are targets, mate. Rowan Dean, thank you so much indeed for your time.